Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. Thank you guys so much for joining. Eileen and I are joined by PMH Atwater.
PMH Atwater is the author of over 18 books, of which I've read about 5, which is more books than I've read of anybody else, almost. Yeah, it's pretty true. And it goes back to, let's see, your father was a police officer, so you really learned proper investigative skills by hanging out with your dad in the police station instead of all the kind of authoritative, snuffy, stiff upper, nose. This is how we investigate something. You really dive right in and get your hands dirty while you're investigating, which is awesome. And you were a banker for a while, and then you had a difficult experience. Which this happens, we find out from your latest book, occurs to a lot of people who suffer a real crisis, whether it's abuse or an accident or something extremely negative, and then they go into that other world. You did it 3 times in 3 months, and you came back and your life was never the same. All your books say that you would suddenly start to shift into other realities, which is why you coined the phrase reality shifters. So was that kind of a nice overview of your life, the 18 books you've written in 44 years about near death?
That's a good beginning.
Yep.
What else would you like to add to that, PMH?
Oh, don't ask me that question. Well, hey, I come from the state of Idaho. I had 5 mothers or 5 fathers and 2 mothers.
Wow.
I was raised by Norwegians in the reclaimed deserts of southern Idaho. I wound up being raised by Norwegians. I've had an unusual life.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you've been primed for this position, this mission that you've been on, really your whole life. Which your books are referenced more than.
I have to admit that.
Yeah.
That is not something I ever wanted to admit, but I've got to admit it. Because at the age of 5, I did my first double-blind study with a research, my first double-blind study. And I was starting first grade, 5, then turned 6. And my first grade was such a nightmare. Oh, this is such a nightmare. And that's what really, really formed what I would become.
Wow.
It's the first grade. 2 things occurred. Number 1, I was born with synesthesia. And many people who have a near-death experience come back with synesthesia, especially children. Let me talk a little bit about synesthesia. That's an elaboration or change in the limbic system in the brain. So you have multiple or different types of sensing systems. So in the first grade, I was the only child in school who could smell color,
wow,
see music and hear numbers. Well, I was telling the truth,
and nobody believed you.
but I was published. I was treated as if I were a liar. So my experience of the first grade is having to sit on a tall stool in front of the class, sometimes having to wear a tall dunce cap or a cone-shaped hat that said dunce on it, as an example of a bad child who told lies. My principal called my birth mother into the school twice to kick me out of school because they could not handle all of my lies. And I was telling the truth, always
That's
telling.
That's amazing. That's sad. It's very sad that you went through that.
At the end of the first grade, I was so angry that I decided that when I grew up, I was never going to be an adult because adults are stupid.
Well,
And
that leads.
the second thing that sort of covered all of that was Pearl Harbor happened. And I can remember very clearly Pearl Harbor. And having to walk to school, I had to walk long blocks in Twin Falls, Idaho. There were 5 of them, 5 long blocks, but they were like New York City blocks. And even though Twin Falls is a small town, a lot of our people died in the war effort. And in those days, if anyone in your family died in the war effort, you were awarded a large gold decal that you put in the window of your home, so everybody would know that one of your family members died in the war effort. So on my walk to school each morning, there were these different homes that had gold stars in their windows. And this one home I'll never forget, I'll never ever forget. I was walking to get to school, and there in their front window were 6 new gold stars overnight. And I just stood there and I sobbed and I sobbed and I sobbed. My walk to school was a walk of death. And I cannot remember a single morning in all of first grade when I didn't have to stop my shudders and sobs just to walk in the door of my classroom. So throughout school then, I did everything I could to avoid getting 100% or a high score on my grades, because the teacher then would give me a gold star. And a gold star to me meant death.
Yes.
I could not stand gold or the gold color until I was in my 50s. I couldn't wear gold until I was in my 60s.
Wow.
Because it was just death, death, death. I couldn't handle gold stars. And the idea of Pearl Harbor, the fact of Pearl Harbor, the reality of Pearl Harbor just filled my life.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere. I mean, there were air raid drills, and when you ate your meal, you would wash the can, and then you would flatten the can in a basket, and you take your basket in to be part of the collection, the medal for the war effort. And there were rationing, everywhere. So, my idea of the first grade is war in your lap. It wasn't on TV. It was in your lap. It was in your home.
Did you start to think about death in first grade of, well, where do you go? What is it like on the other side? Did you start to imagine what it was like on the other side?
No. There was just death everywhere. My thought, my feeling, my sense was, how do I live? How do I get through this? How does everybody else live? How does everybody else get through this? I was very concerned about other people and all these gold stars on the windows. So in my mind, I didn't have time to think about, where do people go? Rather, how do you take care of the people? And my mom and I went to the library, and we rolled up bandages for the troops, and I made Q-tips for the troops. So the family then, the mothers and the children, went to the library and wherever else And we did everything we could for the troops. And we had the Victory Garden. So it was a matter of surviving. It was a matter of doing everything you could to take care of everybody else. And that was a very, very big deal.
It sounds like there was a lot more community back then.
Oh,
like
yes.
There had to be, to survive this
Yeah.
whole ordeal. There was a lot of trauma going around, and everybody was affected.
The town. I mean, we were all members of the town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which we've lost a little bit now. But going back to first grade, do you think you had a near-death experience that caused the synesthesia, so that you could? No,
I was born that way. I was born that way.
Okay.
From childhood on, from babyhood on, I was born that way. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting in your new book, The Forever Angels, is that title has a really important meaning, doesn't it? In that these children who experience near death, and you've interviewed people who experienced it at all ages of childhood, including infancy and including in the womb. People who, can you tell us a little bit about that and how it changes their lives because they don't have a world view yet?
The Forever Angels, near-death experiences in childhood and their lifelong impact. We're looking at near-death experiences from birth to the age of 5. So the teeny tiny ones, and especially those in the womb, birth, that kind of thing. So we're looking at cases where not only is there no before, but they have no idea what a human is. So we have souls coming in, entering the body form, and still wondering what happened to the light. Yeah, I mean, they can't necessarily juxtaposition between the light-filled world where they were and where they are now. Clearly, 90% of the people I worked with, and there's 397 people, so we're talking about a big, major study. Clearly, 90% did not bond with their parents. I mean, what's a parent? What's a sibling? That doesn't mean they didn't love them. They didn't bond with them. And many of them, it's like the parent and the siblings and friends and the neighborhood. They're like foreign people. I mean, they're foreign beings. I mean, who are they? So you've got these children ready and willing to find out what this world is and how to acclimate to it, how to be a part of this world. And everybody else is looking at them saying, what's the matter with you?
Because they still have memories of the light, the angels, Jesus, all those near-death experiences.
The siblings are looking at these little ones and saying, you must be an alien being. You don't fit our family. You don't look like our family. You don't act like the rest of the family. How
do they act differently? How do children who have had early near-death experiences act differently to children who haven't? What do they do and say that's different?
Almost everything. Because they're trying so hard to be like everybody else, but they don't understand what or who is everybody else. Like, for instance, Um, they're with a gang of others, friends, walking down the street, going somewhere, and the child steps back and doesn't want to go, suddenly doesn't want to go with the rest of them. And the rest of them are wondering why. What's the matter with you? Well, the child already knows what's going to happen. So why should they go?
You're talking about precognition. You're talking about gifts that they bring back with them. They get the bonus of a few gifts, but then the gifts interfere with their ability to like
they
fit in.
They remember the future before it occurs. Mm-hmm. So they already know what's going to happen. I would not call it precognition. They already know. I call
future
it
memory.
And I wrote a whole book about it. Right. It's future
memory.
They're experiencing the future before it occurs. They're experiencing all of it, every piece of it, every part of it. And they're assessing that, and they're saying, well, no, I don't want to be a part of that, so I won't go. And the rest of the kids are, they're just sort of standing there wondering, what's the matter with you? Why don't you go with us? And especially in school, especially in dating, why should I go out with that guy or that gal? I mean, I already know what they're going to do. And I don't want to take part, so bye.
So it's not even so much something horrible is going to happen. It's just more like a been there, done that. I don't want to do it again, right?
They already know what's going to happen, so they don't want any part of it. But
a lot of people would say that's a gift. You have a different sense of time. And a lot of people would say maybe it's a curse because you can't fit in like normal people who have no clue what's going to happen. I don't know. What do you think? Because you've named them.
Let me give you some case studies that are in the book, The Forever Angels. One of them is, her name is Penny, and Penny has clear memory in the womb. So her mother smokes. She smokes cigarettes. So whenever her mother is going to smoke, little Penny inside the womb knows and starts preparing herself because she doesn't like this tobacco smoke. It's awful. It's just awful. So she does everything she can to prepare herself. And she has a drawing in the book about being inside of the womb, and here's mommy, lighting up a cigarette, and here we go again. And doctors tell mothers it's okay to smoke. But here, these little ones in the womb say, no, I don't like that smoke. I smell it. I don't want any part of it. Then we have, this I really cringe at. But I want to make this statement.
Okay.
We have the case of Alma. Alma was sexually abused by a male family friend from the age of about 2 on for a number of years. Nobody else in the family knew what was going on. So there's a picture in the book of this being on top of her. And because it had a large tummy, she could hardly breathe. And she is being raped at the age of 2 and a half. And then she shows herself up on the ceiling, clearly out of body on the ceiling, looking down and seeing it all happen. I want everybody to realize and know this is not just an out-of-body experience. When you're dealing with children, don't talk about out-of-body experiences without realizing that for a child, that's a defense mechanism. It has nothing to do with psychic ability. It has everything to do with being a defense mechanism. The soul is trying to save itself. So it goes up and it saves itself while the body down below is being tortured or having a lot of complex problems. So therapists out there, moms and dads out there, if your child is talking about being out of body during some kind of pain or fright, that's a defense mechanism to save their soul.
So better to investigate as a parent why your child is talking about going out of body.
Absolutely.
It was very sad how many people were victims of abuse as children where they have no power, who then came back to your study and said, these are my near-death experience memories. Every time I was abused, I left my body. I was gone. I shut down. You know, are they dead or are they near death?
Well, it's called a near-death experience because one of the major components of the near-death experience is the out-of-body experience.
Sure.
So, and the out-of-body experience, I think, is the number one component for an adult, a teenager, or a child. But with a child, it's for all of them. But for a child, it's really a defense mechanism.
To save the soul, like you were saying.
Yeah,
almost like an ability to avoid the trauma that their body is dealing with. I was almost surprised at how much more you were able to glean from these children than you were in the previous books. I mean, it was more of a wealth of information and a greater insight into exactly what's going on and how it affects so much.
Well, in my study, I did two different things. This is a double study. My first study of children was in the 80s and 90s. And then I had, my criteria was between birth and the age of 15, but hardly any teenagers or tweens participated. Almost all of them were around the age of 6 and below, going up to birth. But then I was I worked with kindergartners, kids who were in kindergarten, all the way up to young adults. So they were looking forward. This time, I did the opposite. This time, I went after mature adults in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, who could validate having had a near-death experience between birth and the age of 5. And I said to them, did having a near-death experience at such a young age make any difference in your life? If it did, what? So I was looking for essays. And many times I would call them, I would check with their parents. This one lady who was in her 80s had relatives that were still living. It's like, whoa, I can really check her. And they remembered. They had clear memory, as well as the one who was 86. It's like, wow.
Wow.
So, I mean, this was so exciting because these older people have hardly ever been touched or talked with or researched, or nobody's knocking on their door.
Yep.
And it was fabulous. This one guy who just retired, I think he was like 68, 69. And nobody had ever asked him about his near-death experience, nor could he talk about it throughout his life, his long life. And he was so excited that finally finally he could talk about it, that he sent me, I swear, a 50-page book,
Wow.
complete with pictures of his family. It was just incredible. And then so many people in their essay, it was tear-stained. It was absolutely tear-stained. And this one woman said, nobody researches the poor. Nobody comes after people in poverty. I mean, nobody. But you did. And this one woman saved her pennies so she could have enough money to buy postage to send me her story.
Wow.
It
That's
was
very
just,
touching.
wow.
Nobody ever asked her. Nobody cared. She was invisible.
It was just, the stories were just incredible. There were 3 people in my research base who were raised in the voodoo religion. Never heard of God, never heard of Jesus, never heard of the Bible. Never.
Mm-hmm.
In their near-death experience, all 3 of them were met by Jesus. And they could call Jesus they knew Jesus's name. And I'm going, what? How did that happen? But it did.
Do you think it harks back to a previous life where they understood the Christian religion?
Idea.
Wow.
Because this was not certainly.
No. It's a bit of a surprise too, because in your previous book,
lives,
in your previous books, you said people raised in the Muslim tradition can see Muhammad, people raised Buddhist can see Buddha, and people raised Christian can see Jesus. But this topples that information. This is totally unique.
Yeah, here's voodoo people who were visited by Jesus and knew Jesus by name. Now, I also had a number of them. Their parents chose to get pregnant only so they could have a baby they could sacrifice on Satan's altar. Had several of them. And Judy was the worst of them, worst case study, that is to say, was the most tortured. She had 10, see how many?
17 near-deaths.
17 near-death experiences by the age of 10. First began at 6 months. And it's like, I mean, I was just
heartbreaking.
Stunned. So stunned of what she went through. And of course, what she had to go through afterward, and in dating and growing up and trying to find her way in life. It was really tough. She went to a lot of psychologists to help her, but she said she got the most help from yoga. Wow. The yoga philosophy, the yoga exercises, they helped her more than the psychologists. Mm-hmm. I found that very interesting.
I also found interesting about Judy is that she forgave her abusers. She doesn't carry hatred in her heart for those who tormented her or tortured her whole childhood.
Yep.
It was her mother and father and a cult.
Yeah. She forgave them all.
And her father killed himself. He couldn't live with the guilt. And she knew that. She knew that was going to happen. And she was like, I forgive you. But I don't know if she verbally forgave him or mentally forgave him. I don't know.
I can't tell you for sure.
No.
But she's happily married now with a number of children.
Yep.
And she makes certain that if there's any problems with her husband, any problems with the kids, right away they go into therapy, they work it out, and they take care of it right away. She says, I don't want anything to ever harbor. I don't want, I don't want to let anything percolate. We take care of this. We verbalize it right away. We take care of it right away. And she has an incredible family, just incredible family.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I'm glad for her, because that was the last story in your book, and it was the hardest to read of all of them. So I can see why you saved it to the end.
Yeah.
I was like,
but these kids, these youngest of the young, invariably, they are smarter than the average child afterward. They begin abstracting before the first grade. Many of them have synesthesia. So let me walk back a little bit and describe what I'm talking about. Let's look at these youngsters, these babies and toddlers and little kids, and all of this is happening right at the time when the basic flooring is being laid in the brain for the brain-mind assembly, the nervous and digestive assemblies, and skin sensitivity. They are being hit by the power punch, and I call it that, of a near-death experience at the time that all of this patterning is being laid in the brain. My thought is that it's flipping these kids into an advanced way of looking at the world, an advanced way of experiencing the world, all kinds of advancements. Let me just do a little quickie. You said you didn't want numbers, but I'm going to give you some.
oh, sure, numbers are always good. I just didn't want you to have to memorize them.
Mine works different than before. 84%. Significant difference is 68%. But those kids who had a near-death experience before the age of 6, who later on, when they were older, had an IQ test. 81% were scoring between 150 to 160. That's genius.
Genius level. Yeah.
Those little ones, the tiny ones, between birth and, and 15 months of age, when they were old enough to take that IQ test, they were scoring 180 and above.
Wow.
Into 200s. We have to look at this.
Oh, yes.
We also have to look at abstracting, because many of these kids come back with a very different mindset. And among that difference is the ability to abstract. So let me give you an example. This is a boy, first grade, Georgia. He and his parents lived a little bit above Atlanta, Georgia. So He drowned about halfway through the first grade. He's back in school now. Better. What do kids read in the first grade? See, Spot, Run.
Mm-hmm.
Dick and Jane. This kid is coming back reading Greek mythology and understands it, and goes up to his teacher and says, why was the book Robinson Crusoe ever written? That's abstracting.
That is abstracting. And we ignore this population
They're
of children.
dealing on the conceptual level. So you've got kids going to the first grade who are abstracting. And you know, first grade, we're building and building one idea after another on top, you know, and you've got a kid that's already there. They already understand all that. And so when they go to school, they know more than the teacher does. They know more than the kids in class do. They're bored out of their tree. They're just absolutely bored with school. So they don't know what to do at school. They're often bullied. You know, it's just, what do you do with these kids?
Well, I would say there's a human resource to really move humanity forward if we provided for these children to help us and teach us how to do this better. Actually recognize that genius in children and put them in an environment that challenges them.
And so many of the kids had dark light experiences instead of bright light experiences.
Can you tell us the difference between dark light, light, and clear light?
Too, because so many people say that the near-death experience is a white light experience. No, it is not. It is a bright light experience. But many times it's also a dark light experience.
Is that good or bad?
Neither one. Let's talk about the lights. Let's talk about the children as they explain the lights. They talk about this really raw, powerful light. And it's doesn't no specific color, but it's so powerful. And then there's this dark or black light. Many times it has purple tinges to it. And there's something very cozy and comfortable and healing in this dark black light. And then there's this white light, maybe has some silver or gold in it. This light talks to you, knows all about you. You can converse with this light. And the children are very specific about these lights. They say, well, that white light, that's the father light. That dark or black light, that's mother light. And the raw, piercing light, that's God's light. And the mother light and the father light, they both come from God's light. And the children are very specific about this. They come from God's light. Oh, and you know, adults, when they're talking about this incredible power of that white light or bright light, it's like the power of 10,000 suns. Instantly you're fried, but there's no pain. That's the way adults describe it, but the kids call it mother light, father light, God's light.
Wow, I love that. I love not removing the male from God or the female from God, allowing God to be both.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's beautiful. What about the clear light? I don't understand the clear light. Is the clear light different?
It is different. I've only found one. And that's in 44 years of research. And she is in Holland. She's the first one I've encountered. And she speaks Dutch. So I had to have a translator. I really don't know what to do with this, because she was embarrassed to describe it, to talk about it. She was embarrassed to go to near-death support groups. Again, because she didn't know how to talk about it. Because they wanted to know, what about this light? And the best she could do was, she just felt perfect in this light.
Maybe it was God's light, the combination of the light and the dark light. Maybe that was her God's light.
I don't think so. She
was
was
different.
Perfect in this light. And it was completely clear.
It couldn't have been something lost in translation with her speaking a different language, maybe the word she used.
Oh no, the older I get, the more I encounter that kind of clearness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a light. It's another space. Or
it's like an
another
energy that you can't
dimension?
so much see.
No,
maybe?
it's not. It's not an energy. It's clearly not an energy.
A dimension?
I have even problems with that. I don't think we know how to describe that kind of clearness. I don't know what to do with that. But I mentioned it in the book,
Can I please tell you my story? Because just knowing that you heard it is going to make my life, not my day, my life.
Okay.
This is why I read so many books from you, because you were the best near-death or death author, hands down. And I read them all because at the age of 5, I had an anaphylactic shock to penicillin, and my life cord continued to be attached to my body, so I kept breathing without life support, but I went away into a coma for a few days, and I was 5 years old. And I woke up in the hospital, and of course, my mother, being very esoteric and metaphysical and new age and healthy and organic, said, "What happened? Where were you?" And I said, "I have no idea." It was complete darkness, blackness, comfortable blackness, comforting blackness, lovely blackness, just wonderful darkness that I kind of rested in and floated in. Then by the age of 10 or 11, I was living in Egypt, and I started to see auras around people. So my mom gave me aura reading books, and she said, "That's a skill. Go ahead and develop it." And then at 17 in Cairo, I had anaphylaxis, no heartbeat, no blood pressure. It was to an immunization. I had been over-immunized for living as an American in the Middle East with an oil company. You just got in line and got like 10 immunizations a year. So when I left and I just literally fell down dead, nothing alive, breathing, no. I literally hovered over my body in a mirror position, head above head, arms above arms, legs above legs, about 8 feet in the air, and watched them through a fog, a kind of brown fog, working to resuscitate me. And there was no cord anymore because the body wasn't breathing. And I honestly, PMH, I didn't know who that was. I didn't know the girl on the table was me. I didn't care whether she woke up or not. I was just curious, like, what is all the kerfuffle? Why are people running around? Why is my dad, I didn't even know he was my dad. Why is that man crying? Why is that man trying to wake her up? I watched with fascination that was totally unemotional. I had no attachment to that person anymore. And I do not recall the moment when I was resuscitated and came back in the body. The next thing I know, I'm opening my eyes and I know who I am. But I remember being on the ceiling and not knowing who I was. I had no identity. It was amazing. It wasn't a bad experience. It wasn't a good experience. It was just neutral.
Remember what I said about children who are being raped or have problems or who are in a difficult situation. The first thing that happens, they leave the body. That's the soul up there. That's a defense mechanism. You are saving the soul.
But I didn't know who I was.
I want to go a little further. I don't think any of us really understand how the soul and the body work and how powerful our soul is. And even what our soul is. Our soul, as near as I can tell, and with working with near-death experiencers, has all memory. It knows. It doesn't know you as you. It knows that's your body. It's the body you were in that you need to go back to complete whatever it is here in life you are to do. You've got something that's going to keep you where you need to be to do what you need to do, whether you are aware of that or not. Doesn't matter if you're aware of that or not. It's going to keep you where you need to be.
Interesting.
And that mass or that being or that energy, whatever you want to call it, that soul doesn't really always identify with the body. After my 3 near-death experiences, I had no idea what my body was. I had no idea what my name was. I was absolutely horrified that I was now back in a body and I would have to go to the bathroom again. I mean, that was just awful. I mean, I have to go to the bathroom? What? I want to go back to where I was. I had no idea who my children were. I had no idea who I was. I had no idea about anything except I'm back now in this strange form people call a body. And I actually resent this.
I told the doctor, let me go. As I was being resuscitated and he got words out of me when he restarted my heart and my blood pressure, the first words were, let me go. Why would a 17-year-old say, let me go? That doesn't make any sense.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah. Let me go be who I am.
Yeah, fly free.
I don't want to have to stay here. And there are so many people who have a dark light experience or a black light experience instead of the white or bright light experience, especially children.
I think my darkness was your dark light. I didn't know that. So I
Yeah.
thought I was in a void. I thought I was in purgatory or a void when I was reading books because nobody described the darkness, the comforting, lovely,
It's so
safe darkness.
comforting.
Yeah.
It's so comfortable and cozy, and it heals. There's even pictures drawn in the big book of near-death experiences. That's another one of my books. This is an adult who is in the hospital. He's going to have surgery the next morning. Excuse me. And he has this black oval light come to him, caress him, hold him, and bless him, fill him, literally take over. And it is so comforting. The next morning, when the doctors came to check, the problem was completely healed. He no longer needed surgery.
So that was pre-surgery.
There's something healing about the black or dark light. So, yeah, they're not. And hey, there's animals in these experiences, especially with children. They'll have. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you had a pet you really loved, you know, very often that pet is there to be with you in your near-death experience.
Nice.
Maybe talk to you, interesting enough, lead you, guide you, lick all over your face.
Oh.
With kids, they have a lot of birds, and I've never figured out why birds. Adults too, but children, mostly birds. They'll have the little animals, turtles, little bunnies, but mostly birds. Lots of birds.
I did read Native American myths do hold some of them that when a bird comes to you and talks to you, that's one of your deceased loved ones. Did you know about the Native American bird and your ancestors speaking through birds to you? Did you ever read that? It's beautiful.
I never read it, but I have heard it, and it's nice to hear it again from you.
Yeah, there's a bird connection.
There's so many birds in these experiences.
May I ask you, you did touch on it in your book, the alien connection and the abduction connection with children with NDE. That to me is fascinating.
There was just a few of them.
Yeah.
And the one girl who was hovering above her bed. Remember?
Yeah, I do.
The drawing
with lights on her. Yep.
Yeah, she would hover. There was a couple of them who had alien type experiences, but only just a few. But there were a couple.
Nobody's ever talked about the connection there at all between abduction memories and out of body and near death. It's interesting that even came up. Or how about
I don't really know how to address that yet, although I'm going to in a future book. But children will often see mythological figures and what we call imaginary figures, sometimes alien beings, lots of times animals, different kinds of animals. And I'm just kind of wondering about that initial sight, because that will often open up to a greater, more in-depth experience with a being that is very close to them, a part of them, bigger than life around them, and to call them or name them this or that, I have a little problem with that.
Interesting.
Because what I'm seeing is children's imagination, and between the ages of 3 to 5, they often talk about alien abductions or fairy abductions or being with these mythological figures. And sometimes you pick that up with near-death experiencers. And what I'm seeing is the brain itself and how it handles imagery as it changes and evolves. So in the book Future Memory, I go a little bit further with this idea of what's happening in the brain, specifically between the ages of 3 to 5, because that's the time when we have temporal lobe expansion. And there's something going on in the brain that is linked to that. And you'd have to climb into the book Future Memory.
I've read it. I love it. It reminds me a little bit about the Mandela Effect, and not completely, I know. But our community is Mandela affected, meaning they're constantly reality shifting. They have their own little shifts, like you describe in that book. A lot.
Yeah. Absolutely. And to understand these shifts, I think we need to understand the colloidal condition. Any engineers out there? The colloidal condition, if you'll allow me.
Please.
Let's imagine right now a great big tub of water, and in the middle are paddles. And this paddle is going around and around and around, and it's spinning in the water. And it's spinning faster and faster and faster and faster. And all of a sudden, the spin stops. And there's a reversal of motion just before the motion reverses. There's anti-gravity. And everything in the water suspends. And colloids are created. That is to say, a being or a substance that is forever changed. When I talk about being forever changed, once you're in this anti-gravity, any molecule, any being, any source that's caught in that water retains forever the effect of anti-gravity, the effect of expansion. And when that spin starts up again, but in the reverse manner, then let me read it to you. Yeah. Forces suddenly collapse, then converge. A momentary state of suspension results. Everything caught in that suspension expands and enlarges as anti-gravity is created. Inherent or unlimited potential is released. Whatever is present is imprinted, becomes permanently altered by what happened. Whatever is present then transmutes, takes on different characteristics. As the reversal of motion is completed, forces are restored, suspension ends, but the imprinting, the transmutation, remains. That's exactly what a near-death experience is. That's exactly what a Kundalini experience is. That's exactly what a spiritual transformation is. That's exactly what a reality shift is. That's exactly what we're trying to understand and see. If your head gets hit, or if you're suddenly um, 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 uh, mistreated, or there's an accident, and you're never the same again, because everything in your brain suddenly changed. Maybe you don't remember or see or feel anything happening in your brain, but it did. I can say that because afterward, you're not the same. You're different because you were imprinted by what happened to you. If that reality shift is strong enough and forceful enough, then you are forever changed. That's a near-death experience. That's a Kundalini experience. That's a spiritual experience.
Even some of these people taking these ayahuasca journeys, and they get the
Absolutely.
bejeebies scared out of them or whatever, and they have these.
They go too far.
Yeah, it's that same sort of thing. It's this
It's a
reversal of.
colloidal condition. I'll tell everybody, read future memory.
Okay.
Means it. And that's exactly what a reality shifter is. It's a shift into the colloidal condition. And you come back different. You come back in some way a colloid, because you're seeing life different. You're responding to life in a different way. You know reality is shifted because you shifted.
Right.
We have so many people shifting right now.
Yeah.
Millions of people now. I know it has a strange name, the Mandela Effect, but really, that's what you and then Cynthia Sue have been talking about for decades. It's just reality shifting.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what it is.
It's exactly what it is. I don't know how that ties in with toroidal fields. Have you looked at toroidal fields at
Yes.
all? Okay.
Yeah.
Because they have the double motion. They have the motion out, and then they have the reverse motion in.
That's
So
what
I don't
in my
I don't know
third
how that works.
Yeah, well, I'm not a scientist. I can't tell you how it
Me
works,
either.
but I can say that I recognize what's happening, and um, and yes, it's the torus. If you can understand the spin of a torus, and if you can understand the reverse spin of the colloidal condition that puts you into suspension.
Mm-hmm.
If you can understand those two things, you can understand what's happening to the world today.
Is that suspension like being in between two dimensions? Do you think about the dimensions of a multiverse or the holographic soup? Do you think the suspension takes you out of one reality, so you're kind of hovering between two?
I'm not sure that it takes you out of one reality and puts you in another. I rather suspect that something else is going on here, and we can't say either or, because that suggests two dimensions.
Mm.
We can't say either or. It's something else. And it's that something else that I want to tackle in my next book, which I hope to start next month.
Wow.
I have 3 more books to go, and that's one. Then there'll be 2 others.
Do you have a title? Do you know what it is yet?
No, I don't have a don't have a title. I know what I want to do.
I can't wait.
I want to go back through my own life, my own near-death experiences, what I found in the 44 years of working with near-death experiences, the 10 years I spent back in Idaho working with transformations of consciousness, and then what other people seem to think all of this is. And I want to tear it all apart.
Wonderful.
I want to tear it all apart.
Our community loves this. Right,
There's
Shane?
something else going on. And I want to get to the bottom of it, or at least have a better sense of it. Because we've got all these great swamis and all these great yogis and all of these wonderful, wonderful seers that come out of Russia, and all of these incredible spiritual people who have this knowledge that is just so great. And I think there's something else. And I have this sense and this feeling that there's something else. And I want to get there. I want to at least be able to verbalize it to a point, because I think it's a cop-out to say I feel it and I think it and I know it. What about the rest of us? Yeah, you know, we want some clue. I mean, give me a clue. Tell me a little bit about what might have happened. Give us a hint. And, you know, I guess I'm the hint person. I just want to get more validation of what else is going on, so that I can leave a trail. To me, and this is just me, I just feel it's somehow selfish to go through all of this research and produce all of these books and delivering all of these talks and become known as whatever, and not have a hand that can help the next person. Because research isn't enough. Experiences aren't enough. There's more. And I want to find a way to hand that in some way to everyone else, to others, and say, there's more to life than what you think. There's more to illumination than what you think. There's more to Kundalini than what you think. There's more to the heart than what we know. just want to be able, when I leave this body, to leave footprints.
Well, I think you've actually done that. I mean, you let us know through your research that there's more. We just don't know exactly, we don't have a clear picture, but we definitely know that once we die, that's not the end. These are just physical vessels.
I want to leave a clearer picture.
Maybe
I'm
it's
happy
a surprise.
if you do.
Maybe it's a surprise.
Well, I was born with synesthesia, but I was also born with dyslexia. And it was really tough learning how to read and speak well. And I know what it's like to lack the basics and to have the basics torn from you, like in the first grade. I know what that's like. So I want to be able to pass on more.
Your 18 books are a testament to your, says the person who had dyslexia and then went on to write 18 books. Right. See, it's just.
And six more.
And six more.
6 more. Yes, the little children's books.
Oh, I didn't know about those.
Light series, Animal Light series.
Okay.
You can only get them on Amazon.com.
Okay.
They are an addendum to the Forever Angels.
Mm-hmm.
They are little books about animal babies, different animal babies who can remember being in the light, coming into the mommy's womb, being in the womb, being born, miscarriages and handicaps. And the purpose of these books is so that moms and dads can sit down with their kids in fun and joy and say, did you remember something like Busy Betty Wiggles did? Yeah.
Wonderful. I didn't know about the children's books. That's fabulous.
Yeah.
It's brilliant.
Get on Amazon.com, Animal Light series, and there's 6 of them. There's a hedgehog, and there's a monkey, and there's a horse, and there's a deer, a kitten. Did I name them all?
Shane's going to put your links in the description box of the video, so they'll have your website, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They'll
www.pmhatwater.com. Don't forget, I publish a free monthly newsletter.
I'll sign up for that. That'd be wonderful.
Only for the curious.
Oh.
So that's encouraging. So if someone
my website, get over there to my newsletter, and there's an archive so you can read past issues, and it's only for the curious.
That sums up our community, doesn't it, Shane?
Oh,
we're the
absolutely.
Curious.
It's fun. It's fun.
Well, absolutely. So if someone has a child that they maybe died in the womb and then they were brought back or something along those lines, and they're still really young, they can read these books.
Kid.
Yeah.
I mean, this is for children, period. All kinds of kids. Any kids. Because I'll bet most kids can remember something.
Mm-hmm.
Is on the other side, being in mommy's womb, maybe their birth. 397 people, and most of them can remember their birth.
Wow. So that's the book, The Forever Angels. Brand new, out now on Amazon and Kindle worldwide.
Yeah.
Wonderful book. Wonderful book. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Yeah, and thank you so much. It's been an honor to meet you and speak with you, and I thank you so much for all of the wonderful research you've done over the years. It's really it's an honor to have got to talk with you and interview you.
Shane and Eileen, you're both angels.
Oh, thank you.
You're both
Maybe
angels. Yes,
maybe you'll come back. Maybe we can bring you back and have you on again.
I'd love to.
Yes. You're booked.
This meditation is designed to combine our power of intention to create a more abundant world. Let's first get into a comfortable position and relax. Starting at the top of your head and working down, feel the warmth and peace and relaxation pour over your body, all the way down as your eyebrows relax, your facial muscles, down your neck and into your shoulders, all the way down your torso into your legs, and down through your feet and out your toes. Relax. Breathe in deep and slowly, and hold it for a couple of seconds before exhaling slowly. Relax. Take a deep breath in slowly and hold it for a few seconds before exhaling out slowly. Visualize a golden rainbow light shining down from Source God Creator, shining down through your body all the way into the core of Gaia. Feel the warmth and the peace and the relaxation. Feel the love. Take a deep breath in. Feel yourself breathing in that light pouring down over you. Hold it in for a few seconds before releasing it out, feeling it dissolve away any negativity, any darkness, any doubt. Take a deep breath in and breathe in the light. Feel it going into your lungs. See it going in through your heart. Breathing in the light. Hold it inside. Slowly exhale, letting it carry away any darkness, any negativity. Feel the warm light from the infinite Creator washing your cares away. In this moment right now, you feel that connection with Creator and with Earth and with everyone else that's joining in on this group meditation. Deep breath in, breathing in the light. Feel it cleansing you. Feel it washing away all the negative energy and transmuting it into love. Feel the love of the Creator. Breathe out. Feel that love going out to everyone else in the world and into the earth. Deep breath in through your heart, into your lungs. Breathe in that cleansing light. Feel that light permeate every cell of your being, taking away any darkness, any negativity. Feel the loving energy permeate your being. As you exhale, feel it carrying away any particles of darkness or negativity. Feel yourself relaxing into the comfort of the one infinite Creator. Feel your connection with God and the earth and humanity. We are all combining our intentions as you continue to breathe deeply, permeating the cells of your body and washing away all negativity, all cares, all worries, all fears are all dissolving away and transforming into love light. As we continue to breathe in and breathe in the light of love, exhaling out the love of God into the world, into the earth. We are connected as one. Feel that connection. Feel that connection with nature, with the earth, with all the other humans on the planet, with everyone joining in with this group meditation right now. Past, present, and future. There's a connection being made, a supernatural connection. Feel that connection right now. Feel that we are one with our intention. Let's now focus our attention together as we continue to breathe on abundance for the higher good of humanity in the world. As we continue to breathe, feel the love light you breathe in dissolve away any thoughts of lack, any thoughts of shortages or not enough. Dissolve away and get replaced with abundance, having everything you need for the greater good of mankind in the world. Visualize abundance going out to the world. All the projects that focus on a better world, a more loving place for humanity, are having all their needs met. Not only financially, but with equipment, manpower, floor space, whatever they need to accomplish their goal for a better world for mankind. Visualize all the love light workers' needs being met so they can fulfill their highest purpose for humanity and God. As you continue to breathe in, feel that connection with everyone else. Feel the thoughts of lack just fall away and get replaced with the feeling of abundance. Visualize the resources just falling into place. Whatever these projects need, the resources miraculously appear. Visualize a world where those with the highest desires to help mankind are no longer hindered by lack. They have everything they need. All of their needs are met. Abundance. Resources becoming available as they need them to accomplish the highest, greatest good for mankind. Visualize this world of abundance for all, where there is plenty of clean water to drink, plenty of healthy food to eat, clothing, housing for all, abundance for all. Visualize everyone's needs being met. All of the love light projects with the greatest good for mankind get all the resources they need. Whatever those resources are, they miraculously fall into place. Let's shift our focus to those overcome with the lust of greed and power, that they can get a glimpse of a future of abundance for all, and that little spark of divinity within them will be ignited to a flaming fire of desire to help the greater good of all, the desire to serve the greater good of mankind. Let that glimpse of a beautiful future of abundance for all soften the hearts of those overcome with service to self and transmute that to a desire for service to others, a desire to make the world a better place for all, a beautiful place, a new world where there is no lack. There's only abundance for all, plenty, clean water, electricity, healthy food, homes for all. As we continue to breathe in the light of love and hold it, and exhale out, relax in the comfort and the trust, knowing all of the needs will be met for the greater good of mankind. As we continue to breathe, we shift our focus on the entire earth. Visualize an earth of abundance for all, plenty for all, everyone's needs being met, where suffering from lack is a thing of the past. This is a new world of abundance, abundance for all. As we breathe in the love and the light through our hearts, we hold it there. And we exhale out the love and the light and the abundance to the entire world. We're connected. Our intentions are creating a new world in a miraculous, synchronistic way. Breathe in that love-like Creator God energy and feel the power and the connectedness with everyone else, past, present, and future, joining in with this intention meditation. Feel the energy go through your body and connect you with Creator God and the earth and all of humanity. Imagine the abundance pouring over the earth and the suffering from lack dissolving away. Imagine the world glowing with a golden rainbow light. Visualize the tears of joy for those who have their needs met, for those who are joyous and happy and content, for those no longer in need and suffering. Feel the joy and the relief and the gratitude as their needs are finally met and they find themselves in this glorious new place of abundance. As we continue to breathe and let our breathing slowly return to normal. Feel the love and the light bathe us and continue to follow us throughout our day. Through our sleeping hours, that love light protection continues to connect us all to each other, to the earth, and to the infinite Creator God. As our breathing returns to normal, we will feel energized with the love and the light of the infinite Creator God. I love you all so much. Thank you for joining me in changing the world. Be sure to check out the website at uotf.net. There you will find the live stream schedule displayed in your local time right there on the front page. Below that, you'll find links to take the Beyond Quantum Healing course at a discounted rate, purchase our book, Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe, in paperback or ebook, or to contact me to schedule a BQH session. At the top of the site, you'll find links to help support the work I do, access the free private forum where you can discuss organizing get-togethers in your area, Mandela effects, and more. Thank you all so much for being here.